if I press that, does he go again? Yeah, there you go.
Brilliant. It's everything I expected and wanted from a museum of Cardiff, to tell the Cardiff story, which is what we've called it. We've got a wealth of history, of passion, of resident stories, which we're telling from Friday, and it's great to see already the imagination of all the youngsters here today has been sparked, and they're running around, getting involved, learning about how the Cardiff they're in today was shaped by all the memories and all the histories of everything here today. It was a council project, very much driven by the council. It was our aim to create the story of Cardiff. We were conscious of the fact that Cardiff was the only major UK city without a museum telling our story, so we wanted something. So working in conjunction with the Heritage Lottery Fund, who've been generous in helping us to fund this, obviously the Welsh Assembly through Cymru and other foundations as well, we've been able to deliver the first phase of what will be a two-phase project. This first phase is putting Cardiff in the context of how it developed, and also has an education lab as well, so that schools can come in and tap into the stories and the histories of Cardiff, which will help with their curriculum. And then the next stage, will be to tell various other aspects of Cardiff story, how sport has shaped Cardiff, how the various communities of Cardiff have shaped the Cardiff we're in today, and we're actively fundraising for that at the moment. This is sort of the overall, putting Cardiff in its context, the history of Cardiff and how the Cardiff we're in today was developed. My favourite exhibit is behind me, is this the big model of Cardiff Bay and the docks, because it's good for people who are coming to Cardiff for the first time to learn how the docks played such a significant part in developing Cardiff. But it's also good for local residents to come and see how things are today compared to how they were in the past. They can pick out buildings they know that are still there now and see how those buildings were in the past, surrounded by all the various canals, the docks, all the thousands of ships and the train lines which are all around them, bringing coal from the valleys down to the docks and then exporting it throughout the world. So that's my favourite exhibit. But there's lots of others as well. The Animal Wall is another one, and also the big Victorian house from Cathedral Road, just showing how some of the magnificent buildings we have in the city now, how they looked then and how they were used then and how they were lived in then. Cardiff has changed out of all recognition from what it was 10, 20, 100 years ago. So I think it's important for people to get that sense of where it all began and how it developed. Because we're continuing to develop. Over the last few years, the city centre has seen significant development, and certainly someone who will have not been to Cardiff for 5-10 years will get a sense of, wow, things have moved on. So I think it's important that the story is told as to how that development, what was the story behind why it developed. I think one of the main things that has driven Cardiff over the years is the communities, and that's why I'm very proud of the fact that in putting together this story, we've relied on the stories of the residents of Cardiff. We've had over 1,000 objects donated to tell the story of Cardiff. That's Cardiff residents who are proud of the history of Cardiff and want other people to share in their stories. So that's what I'm most proud about the Cardiff story.
Well, it's been, the museum was planned 2 years ago, and before that the library had gone through a whole series of different existences since it was a library. But this is a magnificent building, and the idea of putting a new museum here was that of Cardiff Council and their staff, and it's been 2 years in gestation, and it opens to the public tomorrow, and it is outstanding. This is a museum for the people of Cardiff. It's not a museum about the great and the good, as you normally see, nor is it a sort of dusty museum with artifacts in glass cases. This is a museum for the people and about the people who made Cardiff, both those that pass through Cardiff and those that live in Cardiff. The designs and everything, of course, have been down to the staff here at Cardiff, and they've done a wonderful job. We've just given the money towards some of these exhibits. We've given £450,000 to get the museum off the ground. I'm sure they'll be back for more as this becomes such a success and expands into the rest of the library building. But we've given the money, and that's the essential. Well, I think especially now, people want to know where they've come from. the fight that their ancestors had. Somebody once said that anybody who's alive now is a success story because somewhere in your background, your ancestors succeeded. And I think we want to know how we got here and why is the city as it is and what is the story behind Cardiff. And it's a huge story in Cardiff.
Well, I think it's wonderful now that we're on the verge of opening this to the public. I think what we have delivered is a truly fantastic museum. I think what I love about it is the fact that it's so interactive. It's something that people, young and old, are really going to enjoy, and hopefully they're going to learn a little bit about the city as well and a bit about how we got to where we are today. I think it's always important to know where we've come from. I'm sure a lot of people like myself have moved to Cardiff, so we weren't necessarily born and brought up here, but there are lots of other people who were born and brought up in Cardiff and around South Wales living in the city as well, and I think it's important for them to know a little bit about how the city developed. I mean, the city has a history which has meant that it's evolved and changed at many times. It's reinvented itself several times over the years, and I think we've seen that particularly again in the last 15 to 20 years. The city has really gone through a renaissance. So it's great to find out about where the city came from, how the city was founded, what were the things that made the city grow in the past. I think it's important to still have great facilities that the people can enjoy, because these are the things that add added value to the quality of life in the city. So having this museum that's going to be free for people to come and visit, I think is vitally important. It's what makes life worth living if you have lots of good things to see and do around you, and this is just another facility in that regard.